It always comes to this. More nice shit. Hey guys, back again to do another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I had done two-part video on my new back piece finally. Seemed like it was, you know, a long time coming, but at the same time not, because I was preoccupied with so many other projects that it never really even was a thing. Like, it was never like, oh, you know, I can't wait to do that, because like my menu was, you know, taken up with all these other projects, which is, I think, always good anyway. With life in general, I think the more stuff you have going on, the less you're looking forward to one singular thing. There's all kinds of things to look forward to, you know, and it's not just in one space. It's, you know, you're looking forward to all kinds of different things, and then you're not, you know, spending 6 months, you know, waiting for the day. It's like every day you have something cool happening, or something that you're looking forward to is happening. And I think a lot of people live a lot in dread, and they need that singular event to motivate them. But it's nice even just to have small goals, like a good workout, or, you know, things like that. I'm not going to get too much into a tangent on that. My back piece is pretty much healed now. Lines heal really, really easy, so no surprise there. I was able to lay on my back when I went to bed probably the second day. Yeah, I think a lot of people are always like, they wonder the strange positions I must sleep in for being tattooed all the time, but I'm usually back to behaving normal the second day. And to be honest with you, like, I worked out today and I got tattooed yesterday. So I don't really find that it holds me back from doing anything at all. It doesn't even change my approach. I think I'm just very used to living with healing tattoos. And so, you know, when I was talking to Lily Lou about this, it was like, do you really heal easier, or do you just not care? And I don't necessarily agree with that school of thought. I do actually think that the more that I've done, the easier I've healed, and I think that's probably the way it is for anything. I think that if you're constantly doing anything, your body develops some kind of memory and responds quicker and easier to it. And I just think that that's you know, some form of, you know, localized evolution. You know, maybe someone out there will be like, well, Remy, that's not how things work. And it's like, well, I can't tell you what it is, but my skin feels no pain a few hours after the tattoo, and I flake in 2 days every time. It's never longer than that. Whereas my wife just had her neck tattooed, and it took her 6 days to peel. And that was a soft black and gray neck tattoo. There was very little trauma. Whereas everything that you do to me is a lot of trauma and full color saturation. So it would intuit, based on those facts, that I would take longer to heal, but I healed in a third of the time. And she had pain 3 days after the tattoo still. Whereas when I get my neck tattooed, I don't really feel pain for even a few hours after. It's not sensitive to the touch that evening. And that's not just because someone might think that that's mental conditioning, like maybe I don't have nerve receptors or something anymore. I don't know what you would maybe want to chalk that up to, but it is a thing. And you know, she's itchy today. I don't really get itchy after I get tattooed. I don't have any itchiness at all. I don't have any of those kinds of things. And I think that at some point I probably did, but I've grown through it, or I've gotten used to it, or something. Something has happened, and the whole experience is different than it used to be. That's all I do know for sure. I don't know what you want to attribute that to. Your guess is as good as mine, but it definitely is easier than it used to be. Now, With that said, I had another session with Rick this week. We actually had a decent little session. Obviously, there's always more that I would like to do. There's always more that we could do. Our sessions are never as big and, momentous as my sessions I have with Rick or with Terry, but I got quite a bit done, and there's just a few things that were bothering me, and we got through 2 of those, and my skin started tightening up a bit. And with color on black projects, you really can tell when your skin's had enough. I've mentioned this in prior videos, but you could maybe get away with saturating negative space with color when your skin is tightening up, but you see it right away when you're getting tattooed and you wipe after and there's no ink at all. There's no color in your skin. It's just black. Yeah, you get diminishing returns. It was the same thing that happened with my back piece just this last week with Terry, when at the very end of it, tried to put some red in and a little bit of yellow in, and you can't even see the yellow in the pictures, but there's yellow in there, technically. There's 2 different shades of red, and they didn't heal very well. It's not the brightest red I've had. I'm not going to show that off today because you'll see that soon anyway. My next back tattoo update. I'll be working on it again in a few weeks, so you'll see it soon. The red isn't super solid in there, and that's not a surprise at all. I didn't think it would be. For that exercise, it was more just about getting that first layer of red in, because even having some red in will help the second layer go in. This has been proven. Anytime I've done these second and third passes, the color goes in better. So for that exercise, it was just about getting some base of color in there, because we want the red to be the brightest part of the tattoo. We want the eyes in particular to be the brightest red. So having a base of red to work from for the second pass, third pass, whatever it ends up being, maybe even 4, is a good idea to do early on, and we'll be getting back to it. Now, anyway, as I said, I had these little areas that were bugging me. So there's this whole little tentacle here that was bugging me. I don't know, for the people who have watched all of these updates, you'll know that I said this was going to happen. I called this verbatim. What happened is word for word. Rick didn't want to re-outline this one when he did the color because he wanted it to be further away or like not in the foreground. And I said then, we're going to end up doing the black there again anyway. So that's exactly what happened. We did the second pass color. This time we did the color in there, or yeah, the color with the black, and now it will stay better. But I did tell Rick we have to bring the red velvet down and border this black line, or else this line here, the outer part of it, will start to muck up on us. And that's been the case with everything. When you don't surround the black with a color or a white, it just gets fainter and thinner looking over time, and you end up having to redo it. It's the same thing up here. We're going to be figuring out what's going in here. On my school thought is we should probably just do more red velvet, but Rick's thinking about maybe doing something else in there. I don't particularly care. I don't necessarily care what goes there. I just think it needs to have something in there. Otherwise, these black lines won't stand out forever the same way. They will stand out a bit, but we want more contrast than that long term. So even just getting some of this red velvet in there to break it apart will help a lot. So as I mentioned, yeah, we were down here and we did all the color in there. We also did, there's this chunk in here, this kind of middle section on the side of my ditch / elbow area. And Rick tried to put some color in back here, but it wasn't having it this time. So we'll get that next time, probably. Well, maybe not next time, but in a few weeks here. This all looks a lot better now. This spot right here is having a hell of a time taking ink for some reason. The blue and green, like yellow highlights in there, they just don't want to take for some reason. So I am expecting a fairly poor result again there. But there's always a few spots that are harder. Like when Terry was tattooing this arm, for example, the spot that was hardest to saturate was in here. It just did not want to go red. It would just keep going like black, purple kind of, like because there was too much black slipping through the red. just different parts of me are thicker and harder to saturate or whatever, have more scar tissue maybe. It's hard to tell exactly where that's going to be until you start getting into it, and some parts of me are worse than others, and that should intuit with how many layers I have. There's going to be spots that don't take as well as others, but for the most part it goes in fairly easily. And so the only part that, like yesterday for example, that was hard to saturate was just in here, and then when we came back over here my skin was starting to tighten up and just wasn't going in very well. Now I'll have my elbow up here. You can see that it's better than it was after this last pass on it, but it's still got a bit of that yellow callus shine, same as this one. And some amount of that I don't think we're going to be able to get rid of, but Rick wants to try again. I told him straight up, we can do another 4 sessions on it if you want. I don't really care. It doesn't bug me. It certainly isn't the crazy, painful thing to get your elbow tattooed. That's anyone who tells you that hasn't had enough work. It's just not that bad. I mean, I do agree that there's certain spots that hurt more for some people than others, but the elbow is a pretty chill one. And if I was getting, if I had to choose, I'd say probably the wrist, the ditch, or the inner bicep are the worst parts of the arm. With that said, I always think that anything you get tattooed on your arm is pretty chill and more or less a day off anyway. So, yeah. All those little 3 spots that we did, they do make a big difference. It's not a ton of work overall in each spot, but even like just doing this much takes like an hour a piece, because these are all layered color, as I always say. It's not just like you take a mag and you brush it in. You got to build that shit up, and that takes quite a while. So, but to stand away from, like to show the whole thing, those points, they matter a lot because it connects the whole thing. Like, it's in the pictures, I felt like it looks the most like a finished sleeve this session that it ever has, and that should only increase from here. So next week with Rick, we're going to be doing the second pass of color on this back here. These guys, there's like one in here and here and this thing, and there's a little stuff in here that's only been done once. So that'll be the mission then. And I have a tattoo appointment with Terry tomorrow. I'm going to be working on my chest some more. So we did the front of it, and it stayed really nice, and we got a good result. So more or less just going to be another pass on the color here and relining in places. Maybe darken up some of it and put a little more blue in there. Yeah, I've got an idea in mind for it, but it's not going to change much. It's just going to look clearer. Again, most of that is 2 and 3 passes, but it hasn't been touched in over a year. So same as when we hit the face in here, it should really clear things up even more now that the colors have all settled in quite a bit. So I am looking forward to that. I like getting my chest tattooed. I don't find it very painful. I find it kind of like a day at the spa. So that'll be the 26th overall session I've had on my chest. And then after that, we may end up working on my back again in a week from then, just depending, because the lines heal really quick. So even though they're fairly thick line, we might be able to work on the back piece within the first 2 weeks. We'll have a look at it. If not, I have another idea for my session with Terry. I also need to touch up my forehead tattoo, so we might sneak that in tomorrow. There's a few spots in the black. The opaques need to go in again over the red here, because it just went to this pinky tone. And then in here, there's some stuff that needs to be polished up as well. So, but that was always the mindset with that. I find face tattoos are always a little imperfect the first round, and if you don't iron out those imperfections, they do get worse over time. They don't just magically get better. So, and something on your face, I feel like you should take the time to polish up where it needs. Anyway, I'll be talking to you guys again here in a couple days. So have a great day. Talk to you soon.